I got on the plane and I sat down, and you know, like when your brain speaks to you and it's not like you, like your brain says something to you and your brain was just like, done, like how much longer can we pretend this is okay? And out loud, like in my chair, I went, for as long as I need to, YOLO.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Hot Glue and Bobby Pins, a cosplay. Oh my gosh. All right, let's try this again. All right.
For real.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Hot Glue and Bobby Pins, a podcast by cosplayers for cosplayers and anyone who wants an inside look at the lives of people who make things and post it on the internet. I'm April.
And I'm Sophie, and we're passionate about discussing, we're passionate about discouraging our fellow creators from diving headfirst into hustle culture, which is something that we've gotten pretty passionate about over the last year or so. We're going to chat about that phenomenon and as it relates to cosplay and other creative industries, what burnout looks like or doesn't look like, our own experiences, and ways to avoid hitting the wall by creating a healthy, balanced life, whether you're hobbyist or professional.
Yes, it's going to be great.
Yes. I think this is a really important topic.
I think so too. I think it cannot be talked about enough, really.
Right now, it definitely isn't talked about enough.
Yeah. So let's see. I feel like we've always been of the mindset, I guess, that it can't happen to us.
Oh, yeah.
People talk about it a little bit, but you are just like, okay, this can never happen to me. I don't think I'll ever experience this. But, you know, we were both proven wrong.
I really believe that I wasn't wired that way. Like, when people would talk to me about, like, oh, you know, you're doing a lot. Do you really think you can sustain that? Like, I took that as, like, offensive. Like, excuse me, I have powerful energy all the time. How dare you? This can happen to me. I'm not wired that way. No way, not me. Oh, yes, me.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And I feel like with my personality, I feel like I've experienced more of like the mini burnouts before like the big burnouts.
Yeah.
And I don't know, because I'm a little bit more, I don't want to say like low energy.
You're more even.
But maybe, I don't know. I kind of go the opposite way. I'm more of a downer and you're more of an upper.
Yeah.
If we want to make that comparison. That's why we work well together.
I'm Adderall and you're Zoloft.
Yeah, pretty much. Or if we could go other ways as well.
Yeah.
But
I'm cocaine and you're weed.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. That's cool.
I like
it. So I guess we both know the answer to the first question of whether we've experienced burnout.
Yes.
I guess we can talk about the warning signs. Have you experienced what warning signs have you experienced?
People would always talk about warning signs, and I explicitly would ignore them because, again, it couldn't happen to me. And I have a very vivid memory of fall 2019. I was leaving Cincinnati Comic Expo. I just got on the plane, and I had done Fan Expo Utah like 2 weeks before, and then we'd done, I can't remember what show, like Tokyo and Tulsa right before that.
Yeah.
And I got on the plane and I sat down, and you know, like when your brain speaks to you and it's not like you, like your brain says something to you and your brain was just like, done, like how much longer can we pretend this is okay? And out loud, like in my chair, I went, for as long as I need to, YOLO. Like I just ignored, like my brain spoke to me and I physically like shut it down. Like I was just like, no, I'm good. We're ignoring this. Nope, that's it. And so that was fall 2019. And from then until when I hit my wall, which was January 2021, I had physical warnings. I mean, I ignored every time I would get one, I would push harder to get past it and to pretend it wasn't happening to me. What about you? Did you have like a moment? Like for me, that was a pivotal moment. I should have listened to myself and I didn't.
I don't know if I had a pivotal like one moment, but mine comes sort of in like little moments leading up to just like crashing, I guess. I think the biggest burnout I ever had, I think was winter of 2019, like January or so.
Oh yeah.
I don't think I crafted for like 2 months.
Yeah.
Pretty much. But I think a lot of it had to do with seasonal depression as well. It was just kind of like, I would just get like after Christmas, it's just like there's nothing to look forward to. It's like Christmas is over, but it's still cold and gross outside.
Everything sucks till June.
Yeah. And for some reason, I just didn't find myself interested in crafting, I guess. And I was like, as I stopped, like each day that I didn't do anything, I kind of started feeling worse.
The guilt?
Yeah, the guilt is there. I'm just like, man, I'm not doing anything. I'm not crafting. I'm not like, I would go like a week without posting on social media.
Yeah.
And it would just make me feel like garbage. And then the whole like imposter syndrome, like, wow, you're not even doing anything. You don't deserve any of this. Like, what are you even doing? Like, why even continue doing any of this? And so that continued for a couple months. I honestly kind of forget what made me start doing it again and when that was. It might have been like March 2019.
You were able to like sort of get back into it?
I think so. I think it's like as the weather started going on. I think spring 2019 was when I started therapy as well.
I was going to ask about
Yeah, that kind of helped because I was like really, that winter was probably like the lowest I'd felt in a while. And because I've always, if anyone's not familiar, or if I haven't told anybody, I was diagnosed with clinical depression as a teenager. And so it's always kind of like an undertone in my life, which is great. Yeah. But that winter was especially bad. And I think starting that, like obviously therapy wasn't like a magical fix right away, but I think that plus like the weather changing, and I must have gotten to, I think I went to C2E2 that year.
Yeah.
I believe that was the year I went to C2E2, and I debuted my Ruby of the Sea costume from Critical Role that year. And I think leading up to that convention was when I started kind of feeling a little bit better again.
Yeah.
But I guess my warning signs were just, I don't even know, just like feeling crappy. And like the first times where I was just like, I can't bring myself to go in my craft room.
Yeah, when you can't even look at.
Yeah.
Have you ever, so like for me, like it started mental, like my brain was trying to tell me. And I had read online about like physical warning signs. Like I'm not somebody who really in the past has dealt with much like anxiety. Whereas now, because I push myself to the limit, and like it's a daily part of my life. But that's one of the things that first started happening is I would get anxiety about nothing or about everything. And then I would try and push past it. And I would get rashes. Like I just, my body started reacting physically to the stress of me not slowing down.
Yeah.
Or like I would get, towards the end of me ignoring it, which was, like I said, about January of this year is when everything really came to call. I would get static in my head. Like when I got overly stressed, all I could hear was like static and I couldn't think about anything. Like, it was literally like my body was like, that's it. Like, we're done now. Did you have like, anything physical?
Emergency.
Yeah.
I think, but most of mine, so how you talked about, you just kept pushing through it. Mm-hmm. Like your body was just like, stop. I think I ended up slowing, my body and mind just like slowed way down.
Yeah.
To where I took care of my basic needs, which like, like food, showering and stuff like that. But for some reason, I just couldn't bring myself to do anything beyond the basics.
Yeah.
So that was, and I would just feel like tired all the time, like just no energy whatsoever. I think that's a lot of it.
Was there a moment for you where you were like, okay, this is a problem? Was there like a moment, or was it kind of like a slow roll? Because I think it's interesting how it affects everyone so differently.
Yeah.
Like, the way you experience burnout is never wrong. But like, was there a moment where you were like, uh-oh, this is happening now?
I think it was like a couple months in. I think that when I decided to really pursue like the therapy thing, I kind of realized, and like Casey talks to me sometimes about it. He's like, you're always like happier when you just get something done.
Yeah.
And it is true. And I think what ended up happening was completing, like I ended up forcing myself to do that Ruby of the Sea costume because I was very excited about it.
Yeah.
Like finding something that I was actually inspired to do. I think that was kind of like something that got it rolling again.
Yeah.
Because when I got that thing done, then I was like, okay, now I kind of feel like back in the game kind of.
Yeah.
And I'm pretty sure that was it.
For me, it was just like, Like literally, like I thought I was gonna. I had the moment of where I just like it was intense depression and like I hated it bled into all other areas of my life. Like I was just lower than I've ever been ever. I don't want to put like trigger warnings in here, but like about as low as you can go in my mind. I was just like, oh yeah, this is it for me. So I was gonna quit cosplay. I was like, I'm done with all of this, everything creative. I just had this need, and it's the same as you. Like I decided to get a therapist. I went to therapy, and that has helped so much, so much for sure. But for me, it just like when it started affecting every other area of my life, like I couldn't really even get like my basic needs done. Like I would eat kind of, but I wasn't like showering. Like I just gave up entirely, and like I stopped posting, and it just got to a point where I was like, I don't know who Sophie is anymore. And that's why I was like, I'm gonna quit everything because I don't know what I am or who I am.
Yeah.
But when I decided to take control of it and pursue therapy, and I kind of the big thing for me is like, we have to allow ourselves to take breaks. I'm sure we're going to talk about this in a little bit.
Yeah.
But like I've never allowed myself to take a break. So when I finally like let go of the guilt and was just like, I'm done for a little bit. I'm not streaming. I'm not building. I'm not going in my craft room. I'm going to find, like I started cooking and I really like cooking. Like I found other things I enjoyed and just put all of this away for about 4 weeks and started therapy. And that helped a ton because I did wake up one morning and I was just like, I'm going to renovate my cosplay room because I'm excited to build again. Like I'm getting there.
Yeah.
And that was really like because you also had a new cosplay room. Did that help having a new space?
Let's see. I'm trying to think of when did we do that? I think we completed that. We were working on it that year, and I think we completed it like in the summer, I want to say.
Yeah.
Whatever. That definitely did help, like the motivation, because I had my craft room in like this little teeny room, and everything was so cramped. And at that point, I think, I had stopped streaming actually.
Yeah.
But I just felt like so cramped, and everything was closing in. And so I just didn't even want to go in there. So the thought of having, because we redid our basement, and the craft room that I was able to create was like twice the size.
Yeah.
And I think the hope of having that kind of motivated a little bit.
Yeah.
But I think that it definitely bled into all areas of life. I think that might be like a good warning sign, is if your feelings of burnout and what they kind of cause bleed into your life and kind of disrupt it.
Yeah.
I think that is definitely something when it's like something that you need to think about. Like, okay.
Like your friends, your marriage, your family, everyone gets like, oh, hey.
Yeah, it's like, what is going on with her?
I want to quit life.
Yeah.
Everything.
I've had multiple times where I wanted to quit. Like, I'm just like, what is the point? Why am I here?
Yeah.
Like, nobody would even, like, it goes, like, I don't know, my brain is just so all over the place and mean or whatever. I just feel like nobody would even care if I quit. Like, no one would miss me. Like, why would they miss me? Like, I'm nothing special. Who cares? Like, what am I even doing? Like, I don't know. I forgot that I actually liked crafting.
Yeah. It's like your brain forgets.
Yeah.
And I get that. Before this experience, like I had never experienced really that, like I've experienced imposter syndrome, but like that super no one would care, like no one cares about me type of thing. And that really was when I was just like, wow, I'm not Sophie anymore. Like I don't know who this person is, because these are not traits that are me normally. So it was time to make changes. One of the biggest thing I think that keeps people in burnout for too long, I know for me, especially not taking breaks, is the guilt.
Yeah.
Like getting rid of the guilt. And for me, it was literally, like I said, like I got to a point, maybe luckily, where my body didn't give me a choice. Like we were just done for a bit. And so I didn't really have the ability to feel guilty anymore because my body was done. Like my brain was done. So I woke up and I was like, I'm not doing this anymore. I don't know for how long. And that's okay. But obviously that we don't want anybody else to get to that point where their body just gives up for them. But like it's just important. What I'm trying to say is to try and let go of that guilt. Like if you need to take time for you, that is so okay. Do you have like things that you've done that helped you get rid of the guilt? Or was it kind of just forcing it out of your mind?
I feel like, if I'm being honest, I don't think the guilt ever really went away.
No.
No. Because I didn't have like I feel like in a way I did hit rock bottom.
Yeah.
But like the guilt, it comes in waves.
Yeah.
Like I'll feel fine for a couple weeks and then I'll feel guilty. Like even recently, like these past couple months, I've kind of maybe had like some like mini burnout symptoms or whatever. And because there was a time, I don't remember when it was, but it was pretty recently. I was like, I haven't gone to my craft room in like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
Like I haven't touched my sewing machine in 3 weeks. And I don't know.
You just tell yourself that that's okay though. Like that.
I try to,
yeah.
But I think the like depression part of my brain is loud a lot of times.
Yeah.
So I kind of, if I sometimes I'll have to distract myself from it. Like I can't physically say, okay, brain, you're not going to tell me that I can't feel guilty. I'm going to go do something else. Like I'll just do something else to try and fill the space and kind of like sort of push those feelings out for a while.
Yeah. I think cooking helped me because I'm notoriously, I was never, you guys know, we've talked about it a million times, but like I just needed something that was so far away from cosplay because for so long, my whole life was pretty much cosplay. Like, especially when you're like self-employed, like it's hard to give yourself like hours. So I was just like, one day I just woke up and I was like, I'm going to learn how to make chicken today. And I really love cooking. Like I find it very therapeutic, and baking, and even though I've gotten back into my stuff and I feel good, having that like, okay, well, I'm going to take a break and I'm going to go make some brownies or something is so helpful. I think we have to be careful not to let cosplay become, or any creative endeavor, because burnout can happen all over the place, but become your whole life. I think that's one of the things that really gets people to that bad place.
I agree. And doing things that are not related has really helped me too.
Yeah.
Because maybe to like an opposite end, because like sometimes I'll do those things instead of doing my work, but that's a whole other thing, I guess. But like going outside, doing hiking and stuff, or like doing other things, like Casey and I've been working on my car recently, and I recently learned how to make dice, and that is something I think that kind of brought back the like little spark of joy that I feel from making stuff, because I love making stuff, and learning how to do the dice kind of, it like stimulated a different part of my brain than cosplay. I didn't have to think about the same things that I think about with cosplay. It's just like, I'm just like learning to make a new thing. Yeah. And it turned out really nice. And like, you know, for my first one, and now I want to make more. So I'm just like, okay, so maybe this can be a thing that I could do when I don't want to sew, but it's still something creative. It's still something that I have something to show for online, as long as I don't, you know, go too nuts with it, I guess. I don't know.
GLORIA dice, I would buy them.
I mean, I've thought about it. I'll have to like keep doing it and make sure that it's something I want to keep doing. Because I know every new hobby that I make, it's just like, oh no, like part of my brain says, oh no, how are you going to fit this in? Yeah. Like, how can you do this? But also, like, you should be making costumes because that's what you are. You or whatever. Like, you should be doing OnlyFans sets because that's what makes money or whatever. Yeah. So it's definitely helped, though.
Well, good. I feel the same. I only started it last night, but like we were doing the pour painting, and while we were doing it, I was just like, I'm having so much fun. Like it's stimulating a different part of my brain, but it's still really creative, and it's kind of like a mystery because you don't know how it's going to turn out when you like move the cup and stuff. And I had so much fun, and obviously that's so far away from cosplay, but it's still creative. So it felt really nice, and that's something I would like to do like on stream. I think we put ourselves in boxes sometimes too, because even though we're like costume designers, like we are also like, you're April and I am Sophie, and the communities we're building are genuinely interested in all of the things we like to do. Yeah. We just need to be more comfortable and less guilty sharing that with them, you know?
Yeah. I think people need to remember that people are not one-dimensional.
Yeah, no.
Like, people have so many facets to themselves and their personalities and stuff. And I do think that, like, trying to build a page online kind of cultivates, you must be this one thing. Yes. Like, especially people on YouTube. And, like, even Instagram, it's just like, if you deviate from what you normally post, like, the algorithm's just like, no. Or, like, the people that follow you are just like, this isn't what she usually does. Yeah.
This is
I'm not
different.
watching that.
Yeah.
And I think, and that messes with you too, because then maybe you feel guilt. Like, I really want to post this, but I know that no one's going to like it. So why bother? Yeah. But yeah, I think people need to start realizing that maybe they're doing it because of something like this. Like, you can't, like, it sucks feeling like the audience is like trying to force you to keep going when you really can't.
Yeah. Yeah. That's that guilt, the guilt of
letting down your audience.
Yeah. One of the things that I've been trying to do, especially in my like social media panels and classes and stuff, is talk to people about like building a community sort of based on like, not for lack of a better term, like cult of personality.
Yeah.
Like you want people in your community to feel connected with you in as close proximity as you feel comfortable, for sure. But like if they're connected with you as a person, then they're not just going to be expecting like cosplay or, you know, YouTube video, whatever it may be. And that gives you the freedom. I think that's harder to build that community for sure. But I think that it is possible. And that's something I think Discord is great for. Like I've really noticed my community make a shift in that direction since Discord and streaming. I do a lot of just chatting streams. We just talk about so many random things. And even if we're working on cosplay, we get nothing done because we're talking. So I've just noticed since I've been doing that, like a slow transition to, they might be interested in like me doing pour painting. They might be like, it maybe doesn't always have to be like, also we shouldn't be creating for other people. That's a big thing. Burnout. Like you should be doing it for you. And that's tough. And I feel like there's like a stigma about that. Like, oh, everyone should be creating for themselves. Yeah. But are you really? Like, so many people who say they aren't, because especially if it's your business, like your all your money.
That makes it harder when you rely on that for your income.
Yeah.
Like for both of us, everything that we do, like this is how we live pretty much. So it can be hard to be like, okay, I really want to do this, but my audience doesn't react very well to it.
Yeah.
And it's like, do you have to ask yourself if you really want to spend your time doing something, like if it's worth doing, like, oh man, if I do this, then I'm not going to maybe not make as much this month because no one will really care about it.
Yeah.
But then if you make something that you don't really care about, people can kind of see through it.
Yeah. Yeah. And when you're thinking about all of these different things at once, it creates like burnout because we don't have time to think through things. We're just always like, okay, on to the next, on to the next. You're not taking time for you to think about what you need and what you want to do. And that's hustle culture.
Yep. Yes, it is.
Which I really, I know we're going to talk about the glorification of hustle culture.
Yeah.
And like, so I did a panel this weekend for IkiCon, and I talked a little bit about this, and most people in the audience actually didn't know what hustle culture was, which I think is probably a good thing. But to give a definition, if anybody doesn't, it's basically just like the culture of working nonstop. Like you keep up your hustle to succeed. Like you have to hustle to succeed, never stop, never take a break, because if you take a break, the next person isn't taking a break and they're going to get further ahead than you, and like glorifying that and making that like it's like a good thing to aspire to, when it's incredibly damaging because that's how you get burnout, like a mental health problem. Like we were just talking about our stuff, like it's going to mess up your head doing that. So where do you think hustle culture like originated? Or first off, how do you feel about hustle culture? Like what's your feelings about it?
It's annoying.
Yeah, it is.
But it's frustrating, I think.
Yeah.
Especially as somebody who I feel like I can get easily discouraged. Like if I see people getting too far ahead, it makes me just want to give up.
Yeah.
Kind of. So it makes it feel sort of impossible to keep up. Like, and like the feeling that you have to keep up in general is just kind of not really great, but
damaging.
Yeah. It's kind of hard to deal with. You start feeling like trapped into it. Like you're in like a rut almost, and you can't get out either side. You just have to keep going forward. There's people pushing past you.
Yeah.
And you feel like you're falling behind, and it's just kind of can either just sit. Like sometimes that's just like, I just want to sit and do nothing because like everyone's already ahead. Like who cares?
Just dissociate from it all.
Yeah, pretty much. But then other times you're just like, oh my gosh, I have to get this thing out like ASAP because somebody else is going to get it out, and then they're going to get all of the like articles written about them and stuff. And I think it's really tempting to fall into either one of those. Like I feel like people either do either one. Like they either sit and dissociate, or they just like forge ahead and just try and like get past everybody else. Yeah. And the latter, I guess, is what is really glorified. Yeah. Like they say, if you do that, then that's good. Like, oh my gosh, you got this game came out and you had a cosplay ready within 12 hours. Wow, that's great. Yeah. Goodness. Like, I wish that I could be like you, or that's really aspirational. And then the person's like sitting there, like they haven't slept and they haven't eaten and they're just like frazzled beyond belief. Yeah. It's,
and I used to, I will admit that I'm guilty of feeding into, for years, I fed way into hustle culture. Like I was like go. That's why I was able to ignore the burnout, because I was like, no, I got to keep going. I got to keep going. If I want this, I want to achieve this dream, I got to keep going. But like, I just don't, maybe there are some unicorn people out there who can genuinely do that and make it through.
Yeah.
But I think that 99.9% of the people that I watched other people who were similar to me fall the same way I did before I did. And I was like, well, it wouldn't happen to me. I'm not wired that way. I'm not like I'm special or something. And I got to learn the hard way that I'm not, and that you can hustle and you can do things. Like you can have hustle and have energy and drive to do things and still take care of yourself. That's the point, I think, is that like glorifying this nonstop work mentality. Like you were saying, like these people have eaten, had water in like 12 hours, but they finished that costume. But then they do that 3 times, and oftentimes then they just disappear. Mm-hmm. And it's because you can't, it's not sustainable. It's just not a sustainable way to work. And I wish we would just talk more about that.
Yeah. It's like the whole con crunch thing.
Yeah.
Like I know so many people that do the con crunch thing. Yes. And it's like they work nonstop on the costume. They're like bringing their sewing machine to the hotel.
I've never done that.
Yeah, no, that's something that I'm just like, I promise you, I will never. Like, if I have to bring the sewing machine to the then I have painted in the hotel room before.
Yeah.
So
I've styled wigs in hotel rooms.
Yeah.
And like tidied up maybe seams or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, people who bring like their whole craft, which like, if you're into that and
if that gets you going, then that's great. I mean,
we're just saying like, it's not, it often is not sustainable. And we have to be aware of like the, especially when we're posting about it online, of the like standard that we're setting, especially as new creators come into the space.
Yeah, they're going to see that and think they might give up, because they might see like, oh my gosh, this is how this person does it, and they have this audience, or they get these opportunities because they get it out first and stuff, and they're going to think they're either going to develop bad habits early on, or they're just going to be like, well, I guess I can't be like a cosplayer with a platform, because that's what you have to do to get there. I'm not willing to do that.
Yeah. And it's just, I wish more people would talk about the different, and maybe this is something we could like have some guests on to talk about or something, but like there's different like work structures that work for different types of people. Like there's so many, but almost all of the healthy ones will involve taking breaks and not, it's okay to not get that cosplay done for that show. I mean, obviously, if you're being like paid for that specific cosplay and you don't get it done, your time management, it might be a problem. But like, just that is something I used to do too for hustle culture. Is I'd be like, okay, I'm going to get this costume done in 1 week. Why? I set my own and like timeline on that, stress myself out. And for why? Like that, and that's most of the time what people are doing, I feel like, is just stressing themselves out for no good reason. Your audience or your community, whatever, doesn't really care if it takes you 3 weeks or 3 months to finish a costume. They're just excited to see it when it's done.
Right. And then I know there's a really big pressure to get new costumes done for each con as well. And I definitely used to think about that too. But I just found that it's just not worth it, I guess, because I actually found that at least personally for me and my community and whatever, I found that wearing familiar costumes to conventions actually works out a little better for me.
Yeah.
Because more people recognize it, instead of just being like, oh, I got this done. I have with no sleep and stuff. And you just stand there and people are just like, oh, nice.
You look so tired.
Yeah. But if you just, get your rest, wear a costume that you feel comfortable in and that people may recognize, that did a lot better for my mental health did a lot better at conventions. Yeah. When I wasn't like, having all that extra stuff going on in my brain.
Like frazzled. Mm-hmm. I feel like it's balanced too. So I'm certainly not going to, I like to speed build. So I'm certainly not going to say that I'm never going to like pick a project and go, ooh, I wonder how fast I can do this. Yeah. Like, I think it's okay to do that sometimes, but it's dangerous for it to be every time. And you have to be aware of yourself. And again, it's like letting go of that guilt. Like say I have a project where I'm like, ooh, I really want to see how fast I can get this one done. If I'm not going as fast as I wanted to on that self-imposed deadline, I now have the power within me to go, okay, well, that's okay. But that's fine. And not like I'm not going to work 20-hour days on a costume, making mistakes just to keep up with the internet. Like, I just won't. It's like Among Us. Everybody rushed to do Among Us costumes, and they were awesome. But even to this day, Among Us, it's like, what, 8 months, 6 months out now? Among Us, their social media is still sharing cosplayers. There was really no rush. It just felt like there was, because we foster that type of mentality online. And the internet's a lie anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, most of those Among Us costumes weren't handmade. And I feel like people, when it's not explicitly written, they assume they were. Mm-hmm. And so then people are trying to hand make these big costumes and helmets in like 24 hours to keep up. And it wasn't happening, man. A lot of people were purchasing the pieces, which is cosplay. That's fine.
Yeah.
But you don't have to make everything from scratch in 24 hours. It's just not realistic.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense. And I found that you really can't keep up with the internet.
Oh, no.
Like, it's literally impossible unless you do all the things that we're telling you not to do.
Yeah.
Maybe you can keep up, but you can't keep up with the internet. And even if you do, that costume, the hype for that costume will only last like a day. Yeah. People will see it and they're just like, wow, that's great. What's next? And you're just like, cool. Thanks for appreciating my costume.
It's also like longevity, right? Like, I love cosplay and I'm passionate about it. And I hate that I got to a point where I nearly quit because I did that to myself. Like, I messed my own head up so much that I almost had to quit this thing that I genuinely love and loved enough to burn out over. Like, loved it too much. Mm-hmm. So now my mentality is, well, if I slow down, maybe I'm not getting as many costumes done. Maybe I'm not getting them done as fast, but they're probably going to be more quality because I'm taking my time, and I am for sure going to be able to do this longer because I'm taking care of myself.
Yeah. And it helps you kind of curate which costumes you make, because it's easy to fall into like, okay, well, I need to make this thing because it's popular right now.
Yeah.
And then like this thing's coming out, so I need to make that then. But then maybe you don't end up even liking the game, or you try it and you're just like, well, it's fine. And then you just kind of lose interest in the costume. And you just end up with all these costumes that you don't really want to wear again.
Yeah.
Because you don't care about the source material anymore.
Yeah.
I found that for myself personally, if I just stick to making things that I really want to make, that it helps me enjoy the process better, and I enjoy the end result better, and the photos and everything like that. It helps me just completely, because I used to make a lot of costumes for groups. And it was kind of similar. Like, each convention, like my friend group would be like, okay, so what group costume are we going to do? But all of us had different interests, and somebody always ended up making a costume they didn't really want to make.
Yeah.
And that just is not sustainable. Like, you can't just keep doing that over and over again. You'll never get time to make the things you want to make if you're just trying to make the things that are popular right this second.
Yeah. Also, your money. Like, that money could go into projects that you want to make, like making them even better. Mm-hmm. Also, I wanted to talk a little bit about burnout regarding like opportunities too, kind of in the professional sphere, like doing too much in that space. Like, one of the questions on my panel this weekend was like, well, I don't want to turn down an opportunity because what if I don't get the opportunity again?
Yeah.
You can't do 4 conventions a month. You will burn out. You can't, and also it's like quality for these opportunities, right? So if a game company reaches out to you and asks you to make a cosplay for them, and sometimes these companies will ask you to do it in a time frame that is not realistic, and you need to not be afraid to advocate for yourself and say, hey, no, actually it's going to take me X amount of time.
Yeah.
But if you don't have to, I guess what I'm trying to get to is you don't have to say yes to every opportunity just because you feel like they're fleeting, because they're not. Opportunities come and go, and you have to put you first. You can't just do everything that comes your way, especially free gigs, just because you feel like it's going to get your name out there. Because what's the point of your name being out there if you crash and burn and you're not present online anymore anyway?
Or if you don't have time to make the thing, you end up having them pay you to make something that you don't like how it turned out, or you had to end up taking shortcuts and it's not your best work.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. And maybe that company won't ask you to do anything again. I don't know. But maybe they will. Maybe they'll realize like, oh, maybe she's, she's in demand, and maybe we need to just like try harder and like kind of work with you to create like a timeline that works better.
Yeah, so, maybe. I know that
I don't know.
I've seen some creators get hired to do, and not even just cosplayers, but maybe like fan artists or, prop makers, whatever. and they were hired to do a gig and they started getting a lot of gigs. So they took them all. And then it got to a place where like they weren't finishing their projects on the timeline. Well, then you're probably not going to get to work with that company again. Like you've just screwed yourself by trying to do all of the things.
Yeah.
Like just chill. Like we've got to stop trying to do 10,000 things at a time. Every gig is not for you. It's okay to say no to gigs for your mental health. I know that I'm going to do much less shows than I ever used to before. And not that because I don't love shows, because I do. Shows are my favorite thing ever. But if I choose quality over quantity, then I can give my best at that show and bring my best costumes because I have more time between them. I'm going to be rested, I'm pumped and ready to do the work I need to do instead of getting off a plane on a Monday and getting back on the plane on a Thursday, which I think is like the dream.
Yeah, like that used to be the dream back in like 2014.
Yeah,
that was the dream.
That was the dream. And then I did it and it was awful.
Not the dream.
I cried so much and my cosplays started looking like trash especially on the inside, like because I just was rushing them, new costume for every con. But when you've only got 4 days between, like, and what else do you do in that time? Like, it's so important to have like a balanced life. Like this really, really cannot be your whole life forever.
Yeah, because that would turn into your entire life because you'd be, especially if you're trying to make a new costume for each con you're going to spend Tuesday to Thursday trying to rush make a new costume. And like, heaven forbid you have a spouse or partner that you want to hang out with. It's just it doesn't really work.
It's just not sustainable and it's not healthy. More than anything, it's just so bad for your mental health. I don't care. Like, I care. But I was like, I don't care who you are because it's like, I was the type of person who was like, no, never me. I've never had like anxiety or depression. Now I do. Thanks, burnout. You changed my like brain chemistry forever. A valuable lesson. Sometimes we have to learn the hard way.
True.
I do when I did that panel this weekend at Icky, or last weekend at IckyCon, so many people were like, not enough people talk about burnout, like hustle culture and a lot of people didn't know the term hustle culture, but when I explained it, they knew what that was. But I would love to have like, we have some creator pals who've experienced wild burnout and had to switch gears entirely and rebrand because of it. And some were successful and some weren't. And I would really love to have them on as guests to share like their, because I feel like we're kind of, for lack of a better term, in the fortunate that we were able to like get back up on the horse we love and keep riding, whereas some people have to totally change, either quit for real or change everything they're doing.
Yeah. I feel like I've kind of worried that might happen to me in the future.
Yeah.
Just because it can happen to anybody.
Yes. I think one of the things that drives us towards hustle culture and burnout is the fear of being irrelevant. Do you ever fear being irrelevant on the interwebs?
That is my entire existence. Just kidding. I mean, I think all of us who have sort of a semi-career-ish on the internet that involves cosplay and all that stuff, I think there's always a fear of becoming irrelevant. Because you kind of see it happen to people and not like, saying, oh, this person's irrelevant or whatever, but you kind of see people sort of fade out of the community.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if it's because they feel like they're becoming irrelevant. So they're just like, well, maybe I'll just kind of quietly exit and just not do anything anymore. And it's just like a thing in the back of your mind. Like, especially if you post something and it doesn't do as well as you think it should do.
Yeah.
Just like, oh my gosh, people didn't like that. I'm becoming irrelevant. Nobody cares about me. No one's going to hire me ever. Like, why don't I just quit? Just throw it all away. And it's definitely something that I have to kind of keep in check because if you couldn't tell, I'm kind of a pessimist. So if and I balance each other out so well, it's just like a perfect scale. But I think it's something that you have to keep yourself in check about, because I do feel like, and when you're kind of deciding what costumes to do, it can be easy to be like, okay, if I do this, then I might stay relevant or whatever. Like I might get my picture in like an article or something, like, oh, the 25 best so-and-sos or whatever. Like if you get it out first, maybe you'd be more likely to do that and
get their relevance hit.
Yeah, exactly.
Straight into the veins.
Keep people coming in. And then if you do something that you definitely want to do, it's just like, okay, I can do this. But if no one looks at it, then maybe people will forget that I exist. And I don't know. It's easy to fall into the trap of being relevant is the end all be all. Like I don't feel good about myself unless I feel like I'm relevant to the overarching community.
Yeah.
And that's not good either.
self-worth attached to it all.
Yeah, you're putting your entire existence, like your sense of well-being and self-worth, upon what the internet thinks is valid.
One of the things I've actually been talking to my therapist about that I found really helpful, and obviously like sometimes I can keep myself in check, but really helpful when it comes to like worrying about relevancy, because I definitely do as well, is recognizing that like no matter what like creative or influential, you know, in internet industry you are in, like we all are on a roller coaster. Like you're going to have weeks where you're just everywhere, top of your game. People are really, really responding to what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And then you're going to have weeks where it's not your week. It's just not your turn right now.
Yeah.
And the one thing I've noticed, as long as I keep pushing and doing what I love, when I'm at the bottom of that roller coaster, it does come back up again. Like I am going to have a pop a few weeks later where things are just going great again. And people are interested in what I'm doing, and my audience is engaged and my reach is good, you know, and so being able to, when I'm having a low week, recognize that the roller coaster always goes back up as long as I keep doing my work and doing what I love, has been wildly helpful for me.
Yeah, like, that's good. I think it's kind of the same. Like if I notice that I'm not doing very well, then I just kind of, I think that's when I sort of don't post for a couple days. And I
do that too.
Yeah.
I just stop posting.
So then when I come back, it's just like, okay, like I don't have to post every single day, because you kind of fall into that trap too. It's like,
yeah,
you want to like just stay in the loop kind of.
Yes. Sorry, pals. You can probably hear Discord. I'm uninstalling it from my PC right now because we turned off notifications, and yet. So I'm just going to temporarily uninstall
stop talking,
it.
Please.
So if you've been hearing the Discord thingies, that is why.
Apologies. But yeah, basically, I had to kind of train myself to kind of not worry about it if I don't feel like I have anything to post. Because that's another thing that you can kind of feel trapped into doing, is like you must have something to post every single day, mm-hmm. or whatever interval Instagram has decided is good.
Yes.
But then also not forgetting about it and like never posting, because I know like when you are posting regularly, people do see your stuff more. But it's just kind of a balancing act.
Yeah. And I on the subject of social media, because I feel like that's a big place we get burnout. Like that's probably the biggest place that creates like burnout, because like you're hustling to get mm-hmm. your content out and to be relevant online. We have to stop worrying so much about how our posts are doing on Instagram. And one of the things that really helps me, so if I have a post that underperforms and I'm just like, wow, this sucks, blah, 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 I will go to some of my favorite big accounts and go through their posts. Like when I say big, I mean like 500,000 or higher. Mm-hmm. And if you go through their posts, the same thing's happening to them. Like there are creators with wildly engaged audiences, beautiful content, who have 500,000 followers, and some of their content has 100,000 likes and some have 10,000 likes. That's such a huge gap. And that tells me that the bigger your account grows, the bigger the gap gets. So you just have to like, I don't know, it just helps me to take a deep breath and be like, this is happening to everybody. It's not personal.
Yeah.
It just is the way social media is right now. Hopefully the next post does better. That's really helped me, is kind of going through other profiles and recognizing it's the same.
Yeah, that is interesting. It is helpful knowing that it's not just you. Like, oh, it's not just me. I don't suck. Like,
yeah.
It's not, like anything personal. It's just kind of how things go on Instagram or other social media. Like your stuff just isn't going to be seen by a lot of people.
Yeah. Sometimes they kill it. Sometimes, mm-hmm. Nope. It's just not the way it is. And I think that talking to ourselves about these things will help us not get so attached to them. So when we attach our self-worth to the stuff, really is when the burnout starts happening, because all of you is attached to all of it.
Yeah.
You have no space for anything else. And that's not healthy.
No.
Go outside, go for a hike.
I think it's harder when your income is also attached to how well you're doing. Like basically how well your social media does is what brings more people into your like paid premium accounts or whatever.
Yeah.
And if you feel like your reach is doing badly, you're just like, oh no, how is anyone going to see my stuff? Because if they don't see my stuff, then they're not going to come in and pay for, you know, the subscriptions and things like that. So that's kind of a whole other thing, because it's easier for people who don't have their income tied to this to take breaks. Like it's easy to be like, okay, I'm going to take a couple weeks off. I don't have to make anything. But if we're not making stuff, or we're not posting, then we're not making money.
Yeah.
If you don't create content, then you don't create income, because we create our own income.
I just did a YouTube video about a little while ago about like people who want to get into the creative industry as a job. Like, you can't do this with one stream of income. Some people can't. Again, what's the 991 rule, right? Like, there's always a unicorn person who can, and if that's you, hell yeah, get it, make that money. But if you're going to be a creative online, it's so important to have at least like 4 or 5 streams of income, and some of them need to be passive to protect yourself from times when you're just not going to be able to. And that is why balance and your mental health is so important, because when you crash and burn, like, you can't work, you can't make your money. Right. That's just how it is. So it's so important, especially if you're interested in doing this, to not assume like, oh, I'm going to make my whole income off of Patreon or off of print sales or off of guesting or, whatever it may be, sponsored ads, because that's just not reality. It's not the world we live in. Right.
And those like streams of income can change over the years too. Like back in the 2014, whatever days, it was, you make money from prints and convention gigs.
That's it.
Like, that was the whole thing. Like, oh, I'm going to open a print store and I should be okay, right?
Yeah, no.
But not anymore. Like, you can have that, but you need to have other things as well. And you can't, like, another thing I think people kind of need to, I don't know if a reality check is a nice way of putting it, but like, if you say, okay, I'm going to start a YouTube channel and that's how I'm going to make my money, and you start your YouTube channel, like, you can't really do that. Maybe some people can start one and grow somehow and start making money really quickly. But the YouTube partner program is kind of more difficult to reach now than it ever was.
Yeah.
So you kind of have to be working on multiple things, like building gradually multiple things at the same time.
Yeah. Which is where slow and steady wins the race. Like, planning and building and making your content and enjoying doing it, not burnout, man. Yeah. Like, that's how you get there. Especially for me, like, one of the easiest ways to get me stressed is like money and like finances. Like, worrying about that, like, is one of the and if I'm too busy worrying about finances and money, then I can't be creative. Like, my brain just can't go to that creative place because I'm stuck in these like numbers. And so I can't stress enough, like, so many streams of income. Don't quit your job until you're making what you were making at your job or more. Because I've done that before too, where I was like, I'm going to do the thing. And I just quit my job and I only had print sales. And it was like, oh no, I made $200 this month. I got to go back to work.
Yeah.
Like, it's a big, obviously we didn't intend to just talk about the professional side of this,
right?
But the more things you add into, the more you move towards professional, I feel like the chance for burnout just gets exponential. Like, it almost becomes guaranteed.
Yeah. Well, there's the other side of that too, which is adding so many streams of income.
Yeah.
That you get overwhelmed and you can't concentrate properly on each one.
Yeah.
And so you end up kind of sort of doing all of them, but then you get so overwhelmed that you just like stop doing them all.
Yeah.
And you burn out.
Yep.
Like, that's another thing. It's just like this whole balancing act. It's strange.
It is. And it looks different for everybody. Everybody balances differently. Like, for me, one of the things that I found really helpful is obviously, like, for like Patreon and stuff, having kind of like backlogged content ready. But like, I spend my mornings, like, I wake up, I go to the gym, I have breakfast, and then I spend the first few hours of my morning doing my like scheduling my posts, making sure my pay platform sites on my Etsy look good and are in place and have what they need. And then that frees up the rest of my day to do creative or do a photo shoot or do a YouTube video or get ready for Scream. But taking care of those things first helps me not, because otherwise when I'm streaming or recording a video in my mind, I'm just like, oh, I didn't get that scheduled for Patreon. Oh, I have Etsy orders I need to go out, and you're too busy worrying about all the other things instead of enjoying the creative thing you're doing. And that's it.
Time management is tough.
Oh my God.
Like that. I always thought that I would be really good at, self-discipline, but I'm really terrible at it.
I am awful.
So it's like, so I will do that sometimes. Like I'll like check one site, like I'll check OnlyFans or something. And then like, I'll be eating dinner that night. Like, oh my gosh, I haven't posted a Patreon in like a week.
Uh-oh.
And then I just like start going to panic mode. And I'm trying to do the thing where I do like the business hours thing as well. Yeah. I'm like, okay, I work from like 9 to 5 or 9 to 6 or whatever it is. And I don't check things. But then if it's Friday, like Friday evening and I forgot to check a certain site that day, and like those people will have to wait till Monday. And then I'm like, oh no, should I message on Saturday and like kind of break the work hour thing?
Yeah.
Or whatever. And it's just like a whole thing. So learning time management skills is definitely essential, I think.
Yeah. Well, and you learn, like, so if you are trying to do like everything, like one of the things I realized through my like recent experience with wild burnout is that audience, community, and income are not sustainable if I have to kill myself to do them. Mm-hmm. So you just have to settle into what's comfortable for you, what you can manage, and then you get a realistic idea of income-wise what is going to be sustainable for you. Because, and in the long term, your income will grow in a sustainable way. You know, and maybe it doesn't grow as fast as you wanted it to, but watching it boom because you just worked 100 hours 3 weeks in a row, are you going to be able to do that forever? No.
Yeah.
Time management is a big part of that, and something I struggled with for a long time. And it's not my forte now, but now I check myself on it. Like, I'm just like, okay, you're going to do this thing. Like, I have a habit of wanting things done now. When I think about, like, when I started remodeling the cosplay room, I immediately was like, it all has to be done right now. And I checked myself and I was like, I'm doing it again. I'm going to put myself in a place where I set an unrealistic expectation and I burn out trying to do something that I'm excited to do. So I checked myself, and you know what? It's not where I want it to be yet, but that's okay because it's a journey. Yeah. And I have other stuff I need to do.
I think the problem that I have is, like, I will want to do something as soon as I think of it.
Yeah.
And I'll be doing something and I'll think of something else that I have to do. I'm like, oh my gosh, I need to go do this today too. And so I'll like go, like, stop what I'm doing, go do that thing. And then I'll remember something else that I have to do. And then I'll like go do that thing. Like, oh no, I forgot I was supposed to sweep today. And I'll start sweeping. And I'll be like, oh my gosh, I haven't put makeup on. I'm supposed to stream in an hour. And, and then it's like this whole big thing. Like, my brain just doesn't have a very, like, I don't know. Like, sometimes I feel like I can think in really like linear terms, but then other times I feel like there's just like 300 tabs open and I'm thinking about them all at the same time.
Yes.
And I could just like switch between them, but then it's hard for me to like go back to what I was doing before. It's really odd.
One of the things I've started, I got like pretty colored notebooks and pens. And so I'll write down everything I think I want to do or need to do this week, right? Mm-hmm. And then I'll put like a W for want and M for need beside it. Like, if Etsy orders need to go out and posts need to go up, that's fine. But if I want to start a whole new project that I don't really need to, I put a W by it. And then I break it down by day, and I put at least 3 tasks on each day. And as long as I get 3 tasks done a day, I'm good. Like, I feel, and that can be as small as like replying to my emails, scheduling out posts for Patreon and OnlyFans, and, you know, working a bit on my armor. And if there's room for more stuff later, great. But if I just get those, I work on being like, yeah, good job, Sophie, you did 3 things today. And also what I noticed is when I started learning how to like manage my time better, or trying to, when I would write down my week, I would write down like 3 pages of stuff.
Yeah.
You're never going to do that in a week. Like, do you have realistic expectations for yourself? Because I know I don't.
Yeah, I've done that too. Like, I'll be like, this is my to-do list for today. And it's like 20 things. And then I'll get like 4 things done and think that I'm a failure.
Have you ever done the math on it? Like, you write down the 20 things and you kind of like, well, this one would take an hour. This one, and you're like, oh, I would need 43 hours in today.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I've ever done that.
I did it.
I just write the things and I'm like, oh, okay. And then I just don't get them done.
That was a wake-up call. I saw that in a YouTube video. I can't remember I was looking at a YouTube video about like time management and expectations. And they were like, next time you do a really long to-do list, put time expectations beside them and then tally it up. And I was straight like, I would need 2 days to do the stuff I expect myself to do in 1 day. So clearly I think I'm superwoman, but I'm not. Doesn't matter how much kratom in the world, I'm not going to get it done.
I know. I wish. That would be great.
Well,
we certainly try.
That is another like thing I feel like when you get into like hustle culture is I noticed that when I started really like trying to be a part of hustle culture, I'm drinking like 4 or 5 coffees a day. I'm taking all of this kratom. I'm taking whatever vitamins give me energy. Sometimes I'm taking pre-workout when I'm not working out. Like, I'm like trying to like give myself, like, make myself faster. I don't know, but like, that's not healthy either. Like, that messes your head up.
To rely on that stuff. Like, I had to stop doing the energy drinks and coffee all day long because I got acid reflux. Maybe from doing all that stuff. I don't know.
Maybe a blessing in disguise.
Maybe. But now I have like 1 coffee in the morning, and I do take kratom, but that's not the same. It doesn't, not caffeine or whatever.
No, yeah, it doesn't consume you.
I had to stop the caffeine. It's basically what it is.
Yeah.
But it's really, it's hard.
Yeah. Set realistic expectations for yourselves. Don't hustle. I love the word hustle, though. It's such a fun word.
I don't know how many times the word hustle has been said in this podcast.
Hustle.
A billion times.
You can win a print if you count it and you're right.
We won't know if you're right because I'm probably not going to count.
I would love to hear other people's experiences, though, on this while we've been rambling about being relevant and burnout and hustle culture. But I'm glad that we talked about this. I do want to say that, like, I've known some people, so just to go back before we finish off on the warning signs, because you may not notice that this is happening to you, kind of like I didn't.
Yeah.
I started fainting for no reason. Like, I would just black out. I had migraines all the time. Like I said, I would get stress, rashes. My brain would be foggy. I was sleeping a ton or not at all. I know some people who were talking openly about this on Twitter who expressed their hair started falling out. Like, their eye was twitching, excessive weight loss or weight gain, despite not changing your like diet or exercise regimen at all. Like, there's just so many things that could be going on that you might attribute to something else, when really it may just be your body telling you to stop.
Yeah. Like, it's amazing what your body tries to communicate to you. Like, I think it took me years to realize that, like, your body actually does respond to, like, physically respond to things that are going on mentally.
Yes. Yeah. And I didn't believe that.
It's real. Yeah, I know. I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
When it starts happening to you, you're just like, man, why am I feeling sick all the time? Why am I feeling so tired? I just feel like I can't get out of bed.
Yeah.
But that's what happens.
I would wake up every morning just like miserable. Like, as soon as I opened my eyes, I just hated everything. And I would be mad at myself because I'd be like, I have such a great life. What is wrong with me? So I beat myself up about it. And then when I finally realized what was going on, I was like, oh, my body knows that I'm going to get up and start working and overworking myself and stressing. So as soon as I open my eyes, my bodies and brain are sending me warnings like, we hate this. Stop it. Don't do that. Like, you don't need to get out of bed and work either. Right. I mean, obviously, if you have to go to a job, yes. But like, giving yourself time for you in the morning to like come alive, I feel like that was a good first step for me.
Yeah.
A huge one.
It helps me a lot. I usually usually if Casey's home, we'll have make breakfast together, kind of like I'll toast a bagel or something.
Yeah.
But if he's not home, then I'll like make my breakfast and coffee and stuff, and I'll just sit and watch a YouTube video that has nothing to do with cosplay. Like makeup videos or something or whatever, or like dice videos I've been looking at lately. But that's kind of, it helps me. Then my other thing is I have to like stop watching and be like, okay, it's time to work.
Yeah.
That's like a whole other thing. But relaxing in the morning definitely helps me not just like dread everything.
Yeah. Like, you should take, if you're a full-time creator and you're experiencing burnout, have breakfast to yourself. Take lunch to yourself.
Do lunch. Don't eat lunch in your craft room or at your computer.
No.
Go to your table and eat.
Also, I stopped crafting as much in my like living room. And that helped a lot.
I stopped that too. Especially since I got that giant craft room downstairs.
Yeah.
Well, not giant. I don't know. I don't be like, I have a giant craft room.
No, it's pretty dope.
But like, as soon as I got that, I was like, okay, this is where the crafting happens, and I'm not gonna like bring my work ever. I think I did do my dice out in the garage, but it was because Casey was out in the garage. And quality time is my love language. So I'm like, I must be in the same room.
Me too. I feel that.
Yeah. So if Casey's home, that's another thing that I have to try doing, is because like when Casey gets home from work, I'm just like, I'm done work. That's it. Even if he gets home at like 3:00, I'm like, oh, that's it.
Yeah. So
it's kind of like I have to start balancing, especially streaming. Like, I would be tempted to be like, oh, end stream early, bye.
Casey's home.
Yeah. So now I'm just like, okay, no. Monday, Wednesdays, those are full work days, doing the whole thing. But yeah, that was a long explanation, but
no, I like it.
It's fine.
Yeah, we would love to know how burnout has looked for you, if you've experienced it, physical or mental, because I feel like the more we know about it and the more we can like warn people what to look out for, the better. I swear to God, if I started losing my hair because of this, I would be so heartbroken.
It's like, not the hair.
Not the hair. I love it.
Yeah, everyone's burnout looks different. Just because yours doesn't look like ours doesn't mean, and ours isn't as severe as some people's. Yeah, of course. Yeah. So, it can happen to anyone. It can manifest in many different ways.
Factual.
So, let us know.
Yeah.
And so you can find us on all the social media platforms, because we are
everywhere.
You got to be everywhere. So Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Twitch. I stream Mondays and Wednesdays.
I stream Tuesdays and Thursdays. I
Yes.
scream Tuesdays. I stream
Scream.
Tuesdays and Thursdays.
Scream and stream. But and then Patreon, OnlyFans, YouTube.
We have TikTok accounts, but I don't think we really do much with them.
No, I'm not. I think I've
Not
decided
present.
I'm not a TikToker.
Not present.
No. But yeah, hopefully, hope you guys enjoyed our chat.
Yeah, and let us know what other subjects you'd like us to talk about. If you would like us to have pals on to talk. I really want to talk about rebranding. I really want to have Mira Scarlett on to chat about that. If you don't follow Mira Scarlett, please do. She's an incredible crafter and streamer.
YouTuber, all the stuff.
Yeah, all the things. She does Sewing Sundays here on YouTube, but she completely rebranded, which to me seems very scary.
Yeah, that would be scary.
It's a frightening experience, so I would love to hear about that from her. But yeah, let us know what you guys want us to talk about.
And hopefully you guys have a great week or day or whatever time period you're in right now.
Good time.
Yep, and we will see you guys later.
Bye.